Good morning, everybody. I'm here today to tell you about the time that I decided to steal that car. Technically, I was borrowing it, but the owner of this green Miata, this fancy little convertible, did not agree with me on those terms. I have listened to many chapel talks over the 2.5 years that we've been here, and it's become one of my favorite aspects of the school. I watch you guys get up here, and it takes a lot of courage to come up and talk in front of your peers and your faculty, teachers, and standing up in front of you now, I'm finding myself nervous. I know a lot of you guys really well, but when you're all together like this, it seems like a lot of eyes all at once. But no, I thank you for giving me an opportunity to be a part of this awesome tradition here at LaLu. For those of you that I haven't had the opportunity to get to know well, I am Mrs. Kronk, or Coach Kronk to my basketball girls. And we have the privilege, Mr. Kronk and I, of watching each one of you guys start and end your high school experience here. We see you come in as young freshmen and progress and grow and become seniors and become more confident and capable. And it's amazing to watch that change take place over time. It also takes us back to when we were in high school. We laugh a lot about it sometimes, seeing some of the things that you guys go through. I grew up in the northwest suburb of Chicago, in a town called Crystal Lake. Now, Mr. Kronk teases me and he says I'm actually from Wisconsin because I'm that far north. But I claim Chicago through and through, just like he claims Detroit, even though he's from the suburb of Detroit, not even close. The area that I grew up in was booming, and it was growing fast. And so my 8th grade year, they built a new school called Prairie Ridge. So I was the first class my freshman year to go all the way through the 4 years. My high school was much bigger than LaLu. We had about 1,200 students total, about 400 in each class. And my experience there was really good. It was I was super active. I played 3 sports all 4 years. I got solid grades. Kind of like I've seen all of you guys. I would go to practice, go home, do homework, sleep, repeat, and just do it again and again. And I kind of kept my nose down and worked through it. But let me clarify here for a second before I tell you about my Grand Theft Auto experience. Up until this point, I had never even gotten my name on the board. Like, we're talking like goody two-shoes, never got a detention. And I wasn't perfect. I certainly talked back probably too much to my parents or pushed the envelope a little late on my curfew, but I had never gotten in trouble at all. Anything insignificant, I thought I had my head on pretty straight at this point. Which brings me to my senior year of high school and the day I decided to steal this car. I had a good group of girlfriends. You know the drill. You've got your 5 or 6 good girlfriends. We played sports together, hung out on weekends, etc. One of these girls, we'll call her Erin to protect her identity. Actually, her name is Erin. But she was a year younger than me and a really good friend. Erin had this like larger than life, like super goofy personality. She was the one that kind of brought us all together all the time, socially, in the hallways. She was just one of a kind. Coincidentally, Erin went on to be one of the first employees at Facebook, and so she has done quite well for herself. And she's an integral part of this story. Anyways, we were all on the tennis team together, and Erin's there. Actually, I think Erin even got cut from the tennis team, but somehow she was always there and around. And Erin was telling us about how she and her family were going to take this vacation, family vacation. They're heading out of town. And wouldn't it be a good idea if we borrowed her dad's car while they left? And you guys could drive it, and you could have fun, whatever. And I remember them being like, that actually sounds like a great idea. I love convertibles. They're super fun. And I don't recall thinking like, man, maybe I should think about this. No, I was like, okay. So in our infinite wisdom at 17, Erin goes on vacation. She lets us know where the keys are. I was with a few other friends at the time. We all had these cell phones at the time, and you guys, I'm going to date myself here, but the faculty members remember. You remember the T9? We had to hit it 3 times to get the letters. Actually, you guys are all 4 too young too. You guys remember, yeah. Anyways, Aaron texted us, told us where the keys were, and I remember going in, getting the keys, and I was the only one who knew how to drive stick. So I was designated driver, right? So get in the car, pull the little Mazda Miata out. It was a beautiful, bright, sunny day. Another girlfriend's in the car. Obviously, it's a two-passenger. And I drive the car to tennis practice. Like, think it's a really good idea to drive through the neighborhood to tennis, park the car, go to tennis, leave tennis, drive back. I think we went and got something to eat. We let other people drive the car who knew how to drive stick. I mean, it was like, bad idea across the board. We get back. I remember pulling the car into the garage, parking it, putting the keys back, being like, that was fun. Walking left, did my day. Really didn't think much of it. Here's the kicker, though. When Erin and her family got back from vacation, they pulled in the car, and I had parked the car so close to the middle of the garage that they couldn't even get out of their car. Like, they couldn't even open their car door. And so Erin's mom was like, what's going on? Why is the car so far over? And Erin, again, in Erin's personality, had her mom convinced that she was the one that parked the car too far into the middle of the garage. That is until Erin's neighbor came over, not shortly thereafter, and said, was Erin home while you guys were on vacation? And she's like, oh, why? Because there was a bunch of blonde girls driving the Miata around in the neighborhood. And she's like, well, no, Erin was with us. And then it started to go downhill fast after that. Now, I share the story with levity, but at the time, the filing wasn't fun or funny. Erin's parents, when they started to piece this whole thing together, they called us all and our parents over to another one of our friends' house. And I remember being like, oh boy, this is not going to be good. And they sent the girls upstairs and the parents downstairs. And it's interesting, right? Because you go through high school, and you have all of these memories of your time in high school. And I think this is probably my most vivid memory, is being upstairs and hearing Erin's dad. And Erin's dad is like this massive guy with a deep, deep voice and is super intimidating, and he was not happy. Like, he was pissed. And he came in, and I can hear him saying, this is what happened, and this is what these girls did. And I remember, and again, this is one of my just clear as day, my mom and my dad saying, Jacqueline would never have done that, ever. There's no way my daughter did that. And being upstairs and just my heart dropping and being like, oh, I'm going to have to go down there and tell them and look my parents in the face and say, no, I did do that. I did it, and I'm going to own it. And I did. I walked down the stairs, and I had to look at my parents, and my mom's look on her face was like she just utter dismay. And there were a lot of tears that day, a lot of tears that night. And again, Erin's dad at this point was irate. I mean, just irate. And he took a few days and I think he told us, I think they had decided already, whether or not he was going to press charges. And so now, keep this in your mind. So it's your senior year. I already decided I'm going to Notre Dame. I'm excited. So now I'm like, holy cow, all this is at risk with that one decision. Ultimately, the parents together decided that they took us to an attorney, and they sat us in a courthouse, in a conference room. And again, now I can see they were scare tactics, but it worked. And they walked through and outlined the consequences of what it takes when you quote unquote steal a car. Whether or not Erin gave us the keys was debatable or whatever, but what we ended up doing is that the girls and I, they assigned us 100 hours of community service as a punishment, and we were going to pay that punishment as a consequence, and that was going to be it. And we did. And so I, at that point, started working at an organization called PADS in Crystal Lake with the homeless population. And from that point, the impact that it had on the trajectory of my life is nothing short of significant. I absolutely, positively would not be the person that I was today if I hadn't decided to take that car. And it's taken a long time to realize that. But But here are some of the effects and aftermath. So we did the 100 hours of community service. I got to know this incredible man named Jamie, who was homeless, who had sketched these amazing drawings with colored pencil, and he lived outside of the train station, and really got to know him well over that time. And what it did is it enabled me to respect those who are underprivileged, under-marginalized, who are suffering in ways that I couldn't in my privileged life understand at that point. Flash forward to my junior year in college, I actually took a semester off because of the work that I had done at this point. I was really interested in service. And so I moved down to South America, to Santiago and to Chile, and worked and lived with a Chilean family and worked in an orphanage down there. And again, just further emphasized and reiterated my passion and my belief in this type of work. Then I came back and started interning at the Center for the Homeless in South Bend, Indiana, which I know several of you went to, the freshman class went to this last week. And the center is a really special place. And I learned a great deal from the guests who live there, and I was in charge of the interns at that point, in charge of the teenagers. So it's a residential facility, and there are about 20 teens, and the CEO of the organization at the time put me in charge of them. And it was just a remarkable experience. I also happened to meet a volunteer at the front desk named Adam. And after dating for about 6 months, he asked me to marry him. And so that was a product of this. And I truly believe, again, had I not stolen the car, I wouldn't have met Adam. And from there, Adam and I also aligned in our beliefs in service and being one with others, moved to Cambodia. And so we lived in Cambodia for almost 2 years and did our work there. And now, in my own career, so I run a family foundation in South Bend called the Jackson William Augustus Swank Foundation. And what we do is we identify low-income kids in the South Bend community, and we give them scholarships from preschool all the way through college. The family that I work for, tragically, their nanny backed over their 2-year-old in their driveway. And so they created this foundation to honor his legacy. And so it's a part of my work every day, in addition to being a mom to our 4 wonderful kids. And so here's the point. One of the themes I know that Mr. Kronk is focusing on this year is we're here to be better. And so there's going to come a time in your lives where you do something that's out of character, where you make a bad decision. And I think the telltale sign is how you react when facing that adversity and how you grow from it and how you can take something like that and have it be an opportunity for you to really grow and become the person that you're meant to be. Lastly, as I wrap up, I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank you guys. I don't get a chance to address you guys much, but again, we see you guys every day, whether it be at Morehouse or at the games or whatever, and the kindness, and now this is where I am going to cry. I'm going to follow true Kronk form and cry in front of you. The kindness that you all, as students, as high school teenagers, show our kids. I cannot thank you enough for making us feel like this is home for us. And our boys, you should see them when we talk about whether or not we're going to come to campus. And Teddy's 2, and somehow at 2 years old, he lights up in a way when he's going to La Lu or to Morehouse. And it's because of you guys. Like, we're not the reason they're excited to come over here. It's because you guys make a point of giving them a fist pump, or you guys make a point of saying hello, or hey, Soren, how are you? I mean, that kid thinks he is 16 and he's 5, and he loves you guys so much. Each one of you, I mean, every single one of you have made a point to be kind to him. And for that, we just really want to say thank you for making this place so special, because you guys are the DNA that make this place tick. So that's it.